it going, everyone? The one MFP here. I hope you're all having a great day today. Today I'm going to be reacting to some more NF. I recently reacted to Remember This by NF. It was my first-ish time listening to NF. It was my first time actually listening to him. The first time I heard him was on the radio. After reacting to Remember This, I realized that his voice sounded very familiar, and I later realized that I heard his song Let You Down on the radio. But that Remember This reaction, that was my first time really listening to NF and really knowing it was NF I was listening to. It was my first time really paying attention to what he was saying. And as you could tell from that reaction, I liked what he did with that song. He had his opinion about the importance of finding yourself and not allowing other people to define you. He also had his opinion on not allowing money to get in the way of your goals. He clearly presented the listener with his ideas on how those things could have negative impacts on your life. And I liked how he was able to do that while making the song interesting to listen to. So here I am today with another NF reaction. The song I'm going to be reacting to is Mansion. It's the song that you guys, or the majority of you guys, wanted to see me react to. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Matt. I post reaction videos on this channel, so if you enjoy that type of content and you like this video, please take the time to check out some of my other reactions. And if you enjoy those, please subscribe. I always appreciate the support. But that's enough of me talking. Let's get right into it. NF Mansion.
Insidious by inception. What's reality with all these questions? Broken legs, but I chase perfection. These walls are my blank expression. My mind is a home I'm trapped in, and it's lonely inside this mansion.
My mind is a house with walls, covered in lyrics, they're all over the place. The songs in the mirrors, written all over the floors, all over the chairs. And you get the uncut version of life when I go downstairs. That's where I write when I'm in a bad place. You might get a glimpse of how I cope with all this anger in me. Physically abused, now that's a room that I don't want to be in. That picture ain't blurry at all, I just don't want to see it. And these walls ain't blank, I just think I don't want to see them. But why not? I'm in here, so I might as well read them. I gotta thank you for this anger that I carry around me in the corner, so you could see the fear in my eyes. Then took me downstairs and beat me till I screamed and I cried. Congratulations, you'll always have a room in my mind, but I'ma keep the door shut and lock the lyrics inside.
Broken legs, but I chase perfection. These walls are my blank expression.
My mind is a house with walls, covered in pain. See, my problem is I don't fix things, I just try to repaint. Cover them up like it never happened. Say I wish I could change. Are you confused? Come upstairs and I'll show you what I mean. This room's full of regrets, it just keeps getting fuller it seems. Moment I walk into it's the same moment that I wanna leave. I look around, one of the worst things I wrote on these walls was the moment I realized that I was losing my mind. One of the first things I wrote was I wish I would've called, but I should just stop now. We ain't got enough room in this song. And I regret watching these trust issues eat me alive. And at the rate I'm going, I'll probably still be there when I die. Congratulations, you'll always have a room in my mind. The question is, will I ever clean the walls off in time?
Insidious is blind inception. What's reality with all these questions? My mind is a home I'm trapped in.
Part of my house, no one's been in it for years. I built a safe room and I don't let no one in there. Cause if I do, there's a chance that they might disappear and not come back. And I admit, I am emotionally scared to let anyone inside, so I just leave my doors locked. You might get other doors to open up, and I'll be the only person that I can blame when you desert me. I'm barricaded inside, so stop watching. I'm not coming to the door, so stop knocking. Stop knocking, I'm trapped here. Gotta keep saying I'm not locked. I didn't build this house because I thought it was sober. I built it because I thought that it was safer in there. But it's not. I'm not the only thing that's living in here. Fear came to my house years ago. I let him in. Maybe that's a problem because I've been dealing with this ever since. Now I'm in a position, it's either sit here and let him win or put him back outside where it came from, but I never can. Cause in order to do that, I'd have to open the doors. Is that me or the fear talking? I don't know anymore.
Alright, so that was Mansion by NF. My first thoughts on the song, it follows a similar format as Remember This and also as Let You Down. You have this smooth chorus that incites you to think, and that prepares you for what he's about to say in his verses. With Remember This, he really packed his verses with thoughts, and if you wanted the full experience for that song, you needed to be prepared to listen to those thoughts. The chorus does a good job of prepping you for that. And I feel like with this song, he did more of the same. With that said, with Let You Down and Remember This, it seems that he was the one behind the chorus. He kind of played around with the pitch, and that was what you got with the chorus. You guys were the ones that informed me of that in the comments for the Remember This video. Now with this song, it does seem like he's got somebody else on the chorus. Another thing I liked about this song is how he allowed the anger and the frustration to build up through the lyrics, and then he used his voice to really express that emotion. You really got the sense for him being frustrated with where his mind is. Now to get into the subject matter of the song is titled Mansion, and that's what he's talking about here, but the mansion is not a physical place. He's referring to his mind as a mansion. As I said, the chorus does a good job of introducing that thought, so before even getting into the verses, you already know where he's going with this, so you're waiting to see how he's gonna talk about it. But let's dig into these lyrics. The chorus goes as such. Insidious is blind inception. What is reality with all these questions? Feels like I missed my alarm and slept in. Broken legs, but I chase perfection. These walls are my blank expression. My mind is a home I'm trapped in, and it's lonely inside this mansion. So right off the bat, the mansion is the mind, and that's the mansion he's going to be referring to in this song. And a few key words that are mentioned in this chorus to keep in mind for the song as it progresses is lonely, trapped, walls, perfection. So he's trapped in his mind. Those walls are possibly not allowing anyone else come into his mind to help him out. So he's dealing with whatever he's thinking about and whatever his issues are on his own. And in being so trapped within his mind and not allowing other people to come in, so he's lacking interaction as well, it's hard for him to distinguish what is reality versus what his mind is projecting. Now those are the thoughts that the chorus introduces for me. Verse 1 goes as such. My mind is a house with walls covered in lyrics. They're all over the place. There's songs in the mirrors, written all over the floors, all over the chairs, and you get the uncut version of life when I go downstairs. That's where I write when I'm in a bad place and need to release. So the first thing he seems to get at here is that when he's trapped in his mind, he writes to cope with where he's at. Furthermore, that's what you get with his music. And when you get something really raw, that's because he went to a really bad place in his mind. The next lines are, I put holes in the walls with both of my fists till they bleed. You might get a glimpse of how I cope with all this anger in me. Physically abused, now that's the room that I don't want to be in. That picture ain't blurry at all, I just don't want to see it. And these walls ain't blank, I just don't think I want to see them. But why not? I'm in here, so I might as well read them. I gotta thank you for this anger that I carry around. Wish I could take a match and burn this whole room to the ground. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna burn this room right now. So this is an extension of what he said in the earlier portions of this verse. When he goes downstairs and gives you that raw version of NF, when he writes about some of his most hard-fought battles, one of the emotions he associates to that is anger. He first introduces that thought by talking about putting his fists through the wall. An important thing to note there is that his fists bleed, so he's gonna keep destroying these walls until they visibly hurt him. That seems to be his cue to, get himself out of where he's at. That's the point where he thinks he's gone too far. And overall, there's just a lot of resentment for these walls. He's punching holes through them. He wants to burn the room down. On these walls, there are a bunch of things that he's just not wanting to see. But then he questions why not just pay attention to these walls. He's in the room, so he may as well be present. He may as well pay attention to what's around him. But if he's writing on these walls to cope with his anger, and then he eventually comes to a point where he's trying to destroy these walls, his thoughts are leading to frustration, and it's frustration that he doesn't know how to deal with. His first instinct is to write to cope, but at a certain point, writing isn't enough for him to cope with the pain, and that's where frustration comes out. And at that point, he's forced to deal with what he's written. And the last part of the verse goes as such. Somehow this memory, for some reason, just won't burn down. You used to put me in the corner so you could see the fear in my eyes, then took me downstairs and beat me till I screamed and I cried. Congratulations, you'll always have a room in my mind. but I'm gonna keep the door shut and lock the lyrics inside. When I first heard that physically abused line, I thought he was talking about the walls he was destroying, and you know, the blurry images, it suggests that it's something he doesn't want to focus on. I feel like the end of this verse really clarifies that it's a thought that he's repressing. Perhaps he's dealt with physical abuse in some sense, and it's something he's written about, but it's something that he's not ready to face. As such, it's a thought that he's never completed. He's just kind of scribbled his thoughts, but that room is not somewhere he wants to enter, so he just closes the door on it. As much as he tries to break down those walls, as much as he tries to burn down that room, he's not able to do so. It's something that just stays stuck in his mind. He doesn't know how to confront it, so he's gonna repress it. Then we have the chorus again, and this time around we have more context. We already knew that the mind was a mansion through the first chorus, but that first verse really gave us context for what's locked away in that mansion. There's repressed thoughts, there's repressed feelings, there's anger, there's frustration, and there's also potentially fear in there as well. And now in verse 2 he says, "My mind is a house with walls covered in pain." Now in verse 1 he said the walls are covered in lyrics. Here he's saying pain. Either he's thinking that the lyrics and pain are synonymous, his lyrics are filled with pain, or he's saying the deeper he walks through this mansion, or the deeper he dives into his mind, the harsher the words on the walls get. Maybe the rest of the verse will give us further insight into that. See, my problem is I don't fix things, I just try to repaint, cover them up like it never happened. Say, I wish I could change. Are you confused? Come upstairs and I'll show you what I mean. This room's full of regrets. It just keeps getting fuller. It seems the moment I walk into it, it's the same moment that I want to leave. I get sick to my stomach every time I look at these things, but it's hard to look past when the room is where I sleep. So this further builds on the idea of repressed thoughts and repressed feelings. His mind is filled with walls that have his lyrics and his pain demonstrated on them. As he's walking through these halls and looking at these walls, he's faced with his thoughts. His first instinct is not to deal with those thoughts. His first instinct is to put them away. He locked that room about physical abuse. He's painting walls that display his pain, so instead of confronting it, he's just gonna try and make sure that he doesn't have to see it again. And the main takeaway from that is, as long as he does that, he's gonna keep running away from his issues instead of growing because of his issues. So when he says, I wish I could change, it's a reflection of the fact that he can't evolve because he's stuck behind these walls. You could only assume that those walls that he's painting, they're going to be covered with more lyrics in the future. And behind that paint, there's old lyrics, there's old thoughts and old pain that he hasn't dealt with. So, I mean, I get this feeling that the walls are slowly going to close in on him. You know, paint, I don't think would ever get thick enough to make the walls thicker to the point where they actually physically close in. But the thought itself makes me think of that. You've got paragraphs upon paragraphs or verses upon verses of words on the wall, and behind those layers of words there's more layers. So even as the paint chips away, he's forced to deal with more thoughts. Then we have this part about the room full of regrets, and this makes me think of Remember This. So in that song, he was talking about how he sleeps with his regrets. This song gives you a bit of insight as to why. The room full of regrets is also the room that he sleeps in, and the moment he walks into that room is the moment he wants to leave. I think that's a clever way for him to bring up that it's hard for him to even sleep at night. If he's stuck within his mind, and his mind is filled with pain, and then he has this room of regrets where he sleeps, but he's afraid to even go to sleep, or the moment he wants to go to sleep, he's faced with that room, so he wants to leave it right away. It gives the listener even better of an idea of how trapped he is within his mind. The room full of regrets is filled with regrets because it's things he has to go to sleep with at night. It's something that he can't put away. If you regret something, it's because that thing holds power over you. It's affected you in such a way that you have to live with. Then we have the next lines in verse 2. He says, I look around, one of the worst things I wrote on these walls was the moment I realized that I was losing my mom. One of the first things I wrote was, I wish I would have called. But I should just stop now. We ain't got enough room in this song. And I regret the fact that I struggled trying to find who I am. And I lie to myself and say I do the best that I can. Shrug it off like it ain't nothing, like it's out of my hands, then get ticked off whenever I see it affecting my plans. And I regret watching these trust issues eat me alive. And at the rate I'm going, they'll probably still be there when I die. Congratulations, you'll always have a room in my mind. The question is, will I ever clean the walls off in time? This is where it starts getting really emotional. He's introduced you to this mansion that is his mind. He's told you about the walls, and he's gradually told you about how hard it is for him to live in this house. Now he's gotten to a point where he's ready to introduce the listener to some of the thoughts. He talked about physical abuse earlier, and he talked about how it's not a room he's willing to enter right now, and he's not really ready to confront those thoughts yet. So it's not a thought that's fully conceptualized in his mind. It's not a thought that he could fully write about. But in this room of regrets where he's forced to sleep every night, there are thoughts that he's forced to face continually every day. One of those thoughts was what he wrote when he was in fear of losing his mother. And, he introduces that thought, I wish I would have called, but he doesn't complete that neither. He feels that's a song that should stand on its own. Right now, he's just giving you a tour to give you an idea of what it is to be trapped inside his mind. The next line is the regret about the struggle of finding who he is. That relates back to Remember This once more. Again, one of the main themes in Remember This was figuring out who you are and not allowing other people to define who you are. So this may be further proof that that song may have been based on his experiences and his struggles. Maybe he let in a lot of people who were struggling with their identity, and as such they were agreeing with what he was saying, but weren't necessarily truly agreeing. It was just nodding their heads to say yes, but then eventually they would change or they would turn their backs on him. We don't have full perspective there yet, but the main thing is that he put so much trust into all these people, and he held their opinions so high to the point where he allowed it to define who he was, and that presented him with problems as he aged or as he progressed through life. He explains this struggle a bit in the song. He says, I lie to myself and I say I do the best that I can, shrug it off like it ain't nothing, like it's out of my hands. So this ties into the line about perfection in the chorus. There's a side of him that believed that he did the best that he could at the time, or that he's doing the best that he can at the moment, but then there's another side of him that's telling him you could always do better. And you go to that line about broken legs, but I chase perfection. That's to say that even in pain, even through his struggles, he's still trying to chase perfection. He's not focused on working on himself and dealing with these thoughts to have a better chance. He's beat down but still chasing this thought of perfection, or this thought of who he wants to be. And because of the fact that he's not dealing with these thoughts and dealing with this pain, it's something that's always there. And this goes back to the thought of painting those walls. He has those thoughts there, but he's not willing to confront them. So he just paints over them and he puts those thoughts away. But inevitably, he's going to be writing on these newly painted walls. He'll be forced to deal with those thoughts. Then we have the chorus, which leads us into verse 3. So this part of my house, no one's been in it for years. I built a safe room and I don't let no one in there. Because if I do, there's a chance they might disappear and not come back. And I admit, I am emotionally scared. So this is the first part of the song where I think he made fear explicit, and I really like how he does that. In the prior verse, he talked about pain, so when he says emotionally, you're expecting him to say emotionally scarred, but he changes that and removes an R from scarred to turn it into scared. So that's a cool little thing he does there that I liked. And with the way he starts off this verse, also building off of where he was at in verse 2 and verse 1 actually, you would think that he's going to be talking about a room of something he's repressed. He says, this is a part of my house where no one's been in years, but in actuality, he's about to talk about a safe room. So he's emotionally scared to let anyone inside, so he just leaves the doors locked. You might get other doors to open up, but this door's not, because I don't want you to have the opportunity to hurt me, and I'll be the only person that I can blame when you desert me. I'm barricaded inside, so stop watching. I'm not coming to the door, so stop knocking. I'm trapped here. God keeps saying that I'm not locked in. I chose this. I'm lost in my own conscience. I know that shutting the world out ain't solving the problem, but I didn't build this house because I thought I would solve them. I built it because I thought that it was safer in there. But it's not. I'm not the only thing that's living in here. Fear came to my house years ago. I let him in. Maybe that's the problem, because I've been dealing with this ever since. So the reason he doesn't let anyone in his safe room is because he's scared of what they could do to him within that place. This is the place where he'll go to spend his days so that he doesn't have to deal with the other parts of the house, so he doesn't have to confront his fears and his pain. So if his mind is a mansion and the walls of that mansion is filled with thoughts and emotions, that safe room is safe because nothing bad's happened in it yet. But if he lets someone in, there is the possibility of something bad happening in it. And as much as people try to come and help him out of his mind and, maybe see a different world or see the mansion in a different light, he's not willing to let anyone in because he's afraid of what they can do. He gives a little bit more to us when he says, "Fear came to my house years ago, I let him in." So he acknowledges that the fears are based on his own thoughts. He also believes that he is the one who allowed those thoughts to come in. And ever since those thoughts came in, he's never been able to get them to leave the mansion. And perhaps that gives you an idea as to why it's so scary for him to open up those doors to let other people come into those walls. Maybe he's scared of what else will come in. Now at the end of this verse he says, "I thought that he would leave, but it's obvious he never did. He must have picked a room and got comfortable and settled in. Now I'm in a position, it's either sit here and let him win or put him back outside where he came from, but I never can. Because in order to do that, I'd have to open the doors. Is that me or the fear talking? I don't know anymore." So metaphorically, this is really interesting because he built these walls and he built this mansion to keep fear and all this pain outside. He was okay with isolating himself if it meant keeping all of that out. One day he opened the door and fear came in and never left since. So instead of building a mansion that keeps those thoughts out, he's built a mansion within which he is trapped and he's forced to deal with these thoughts because they are all around him. And he's scared to ever open the door again because of what else he may let in. He doesn't know if that's his conscience or if it's his fear that's not allowing him to open the door. So when he ends the verse on, "Is that me or fear talking?" it's interesting because he doesn't associate himself with fear despite being stuck with fear in this house. He considers himself to be a presence within his mind and he labels fear as something else. It's almost like fear is its own entity. Then we have this outro where NF and the person in the chorus says, "It's lonely inside, it's lonely inside, oh yeah, it's lonely inside this mansion." So my concluding thoughts here, we have this mansion and it's introduced in the very beginning of the song. The mansion is a place where NF is trapped. And as we progress through the song, we find that he built this mansion. It was a mansion that he built to keep himself safe. And with him saying that these walls are a blank expression, you quickly come to realize that they're filled. They're filled with thoughts, with emotions, with lyrics. His lyrics and what you get in these songs are a representation of what goes on in his mind. And what we come to find is what goes on in his mind. There's this pain, there's this fear. He gives the listener a general look at both of those aspects of his mind. Why is there pain? Why is there fear? By the end of the song, you come to find that he's not able to deal with his pain because of the fear. And because of the fact that he feels responsible for letting that fear in, he's scared to ever open up his doors ever again. He knows that the decision to keep the door shut is an unhealthy one, but he doesn't know what fuels that thought. He doesn't know for a fact what would happen if he opens that door, but he knows what happened the last time he opened that door. And the last time he opened that door, he let something in that he has never been able to let escape. And the consequence is that he lives a lonely life inside this mansion that is his mind. He is stuck in that place. He's forced to deal with his thoughts. He tries repressing those thoughts as much as possible, but more thoughts just keep coming, and it's hard to reach him. And that's what I made of this song, Mansion by NF. I hope you enjoyed the reaction. Please leave a like if you did. I always appreciate the support. You guys let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I'm gonna be reacting to some more NF. I think the next song I'm gonna be doing here is gonna be one with a music video. One of the most requested songs I saw in the comments for my last reaction to NF was Therapy Sessions. Leave a comment down below if that's the song you guys would like to see me react to. If there's something else you would like me to react to, let me know. I also do intend on reacting to the intros. You guys mentioned that you'd be interested in seeing me react to that, so I intend on reacting to that as well. But yeah, that does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. See you all next time.